Hi, my name is Dr. Jenny Good. I'm an assistant professor of psychology at Brandman University and a licensed clinical psychologist. Over the past 14 years, I have been privileged to work with many individuals within the higher education system and the clinical setting. In this first video of this series, we will be reviewing COVID-19 and anxiety. Before we start talking about what anxiety is, the many associated feelings, emotions, and responses, I'd like to read a poem written by Sarah Gray. The fire that rages from within my rib cage is weakening the bones that should make me strong. The feeling that creeps for every dark place, it fills up my head, it's invading my space. It's melting me from inside. I think I'm burning up. I can't breathe or move or talk. I'm hopelessly stuck. As people pass by, they give no second glance. I cry out for help. This is my chance. The fire claws at my throat. It's burning my tongue. I think it's too late for help. The damage is done. I down some water, which brings calmness and peace. The fire has settled, for a minute at least. Eventually, it's burning as hot as before. The fire reaches back up from my very core. The fire inside is one you can't see. The fire inside, it's my anxiety. As you listen to this poem, many of you may identify with those thoughts, emotions, and the images that were conveyed. Others of you may not. So let's get into what anxiety is. In the world of psychology, we have a subset of mental health diagnoses that are referred to as anxiety disorders. Within this category of diagnoses, there are phobias, generalized anxiety disorder, social anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and panic disorder. These various anxiety disorders tend to be recognized and diagnosed around the age of 30 to 31 in the United States. This makes sense if we start to think about the various developmental events that are occurring during this time of our life. This is the stage in our lives when there are many different major decisions that people need to face for the first time in their life. Thus, we start to see some of the different anxiety disorders start to formulate during this time period. Before we dig into anxiety during COVID-19, it's important to note that anxiety is a part of all of our lives. Normal anxiety can be defined as an appropriate response to situations within our life. We all have worries within our lives about a wide multitude of situations and stressors. When we experience this worry or stress, anxiety is ignited. Anxiety then helps to fuel for a response to be activated in some way, shape, or form. As a result, anxiety is a motivating factor. Once we respond to the threat with some sort of action, life moves on and we're able to let go of that anxiety. An example would be if we had some sort of presentation or project at work. Initially, we may feel anxious and have various worries about this assignment. We might become motivated then by the anxiety to take action, creating a schedule, different tasks, steps, and so on to prepare for the presentation. We are prepared, the presentation runs smoothly, and that anxiety disappears. You can see how anxiety can help to provide for motivation to act. However, when individuals stay within a state of anxiety too long and are not able to release anxiety, various difficulties can arise. This, in part, is due to the body's response to anxiety. Anxiety triggers our fight or flight response that is located within the sympathetic nervous system. When this response is activated, there are various chemicals and hormones that are released into our systems. In the short term, an increase in pulse and breathing rate occurs, which allows for our brain to receive more oxygen, and in turn prepares for individuals to respond. This can become problematic when the body continues to have this response and does not have any release. So, what is anxiety anyways? Anxiety tends to be future-oriented and contains aspects of uncontrollability and unpredictability over potentially aversive events. Anxiety may have an impact on our domains of our well-being. Physically, anxiety may make an individual feel dizzy, experience muscle tension or pain, feel restless, may cause for an increase in respiration, increase in heartbeat, shaking, trembling, stomach aches may occur. This really tends to occur within children who have anxiety. Diarrhea, loss of energy, sweating, cold, clammy hands, chest pain, and even dry mouth. Behaviorally, we might start to see some difficulties with sleep, changes within our energy, and appetite. Within the cognitive realm, we might have difficulties with concentration or focus. And socially, we start to struggle as we see we're trying to manage all of these different symptoms that were noted. One thing to keep in mind is that there is a difference between a diagnosis of anxiety and situational anxiety. As noted before, to be diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, this tends to occur during a certain point in one's life, and there are set criteria for these diagnoses. However, individuals may experience anxiety as a result of situational stressors and events within their life or within the world. This anxiety is more situational specific. It's important to note that you may be struggling with anxiety, and this does not mean you will automatically be labeled with an anxiety disorder diagnosis. Additionally, it's important to note that there may be some of you that do have an anxiety disorder diagnosis or some other sort of mental health diagnosis, and as a result of the current situations in the world, some of your symptoms may be exacerbated right now at this time or be amplified. The most important thing to remember is that anxiety is normal. But we need to take into account how what we're experiencing within the world right now is not like anything we've ever experienced before. Right now, most individuals are on edge or hypervigilant. This is to be expected and is normal given the circumstances of our world and uncertainty that most everyone is facing in some capacity. So, we know the basic anxiety, the basics. We know the body's response. We know that anxiety is normal, part of our experience, and how anxiety can be problematic if we do not have mechanisms of response. You might be thinking, this is great, Jenny, but how does this relate to COVID-19? Many people are experiencing anxiety as a result of COVID-19. COVID-19 has presented a threat to everyone and is a threat that most are struggling to respond to. As a result, the sympathetic nervous system is being taxed within each individual as we're working to figure out an appropriate response to this stress. In addition, when working to figure out this response, there are areas of complication. One of the main factors is not having a clear time boundary present. Individuals are left dealing with an ongoing state of feeling at risk. Staying braced for this state of threat over a period of time takes a toll on our bodies and our mind, which can be quite overwhelming. There are many elements within the world and our lives that are unknown and uncertain, making it difficult to respond, and we are all receiving so much information from the media that does not point out a clear and easy to determine pathway for moving forward. Also, many are dealing with concerns related to finances, health, employment, children, family, and the future. It's quite obvious that COVID-19 and the circumstances of COVID-19 are a natural recipe for anxiety, whether it's fueling one's previous struggle in this area or it is situationally based. As you're listening to the symptoms that were described, you might have felt a certain connection to the description. Take a moment and make sure to assess The overall impact of anxiety within your life. Think about your physical well-being, your cognitive health. Have there been any behavioral changes or social changes in your life? As you think about these answers to each of these questions, remember, it is important to seek out support if you are struggling. If you notice that your anxiety is impacting your relationships, your work, your mental well-being, please reach out. Over the next few weeks, 2 additional videos will be produced. Both of these videos will review the overall impact of anxiety. The second video will focus on the internal impact of anxiety. When we hear the word internal, we think about those reactions we can't see. The internal impact includes cognition and emotion, specifically what individuals think and feel when managing anxiety. The third video will focus on the external impact. The overall external impact are those elements that we can see, such as behavior and ways that anxiety has had an impact on our relationships. In addition, within both of these videos, there will be a review of treatment strategies and tips that will be useful for helping to combat both the internal and external areas of impact. Finally, make sure to review the resources that have been provided on Gettysburg Foursquare's website. We recognize that individuals learn through different modalities. Some may learn through videos, some may learn through websites, some might learn through worksheets. There's many different ways that we learn, and we also recognize that you might need supports for your loved ones in these areas. As always, make sure to reach out to a mental health provider if you feel you need additional support beyond that of these resources. The website has a list of local clinicians within our community that are willing to help. You're not alone. I hope that you found this video to be helpful and hope that you find the additional videos within this series and others will be of use to you during this time. Thank you.